And then before we begin again, we're going to go to Srila Prabhupada's introduction to his As It Is commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. Amazing. And why did Prabhupada feel the need to write an As It Is commentary? Because he came here to the West, and his main scripture he really wanted to get to the world was called Srimad Bhagavatam. It wasn't actually Bhagavad Gita, because actually, believe it or not, Bhagavad Gita is the beginner's level guide to spiritual life. It's not the advanced level guide. It's really teaching you just how to enter spiritual life. And then how to do that, Bhagavad Gita doesn't fully tell you. So, Srila Prabhupada, he came here with the equivalent of 40, he had 40 rupees, which at the time was equal to about $7. $7, and he had a case of his Srimad Bhagavatams that he had written commentary for, and that he English, and he had realized the English world has not ever seen Srimad Bhagavatam. But he had noticed that the English world knew about Bhagavad Gita, which is why he didn't feel it necessary to write a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. But when he got here, he was referring to many verses from Bhagavad Gita, because especially in Indian culture, everyone knows Bhagavad Gita. But even in the West, people were beginning to know Bhagavad Gita. This was a very popular understanding. It's a very popular, even this is not so popular news, but even in World War II, the Nazis and Hitler and all them, they were like studying this, and they were like trying to pump up their soldiers with this wisdom knowledge, even though they totally had the wrong idea. But it was beginning to be very well known in the West. When the first atomic bomb went off, I know all these big scientists, they were, but the Robert Oppenheimer, maybe there was a movie just recently about him, yeah. And so. But the first thing he could do when he saw the destruction of the atomic bomb, it was so epic and massive in scale that the first thing he thought of was a verse from the Bhagavad Gita. He misquoted the verse, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, he did his best. That's all he thought of a verse from the Bhagavad Gita in which Krishna describes himself as Almighty Time and the destroyer of all people. And he's come to destroy all of us in this world. And except for the righteous, or the devoted, which are the Pandavas in this case, all will be destroyed. And so actually this is reality. If you look at everything that you're working towards in this life, it has a beginning, it will be sustained for some time, and then it's coming to an end. And the force of time will end everything, and especially the chief thing being your own body. In your sense of identity with this body. Many of us, we think, I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm this, I'm that, but actually you're none of those things. For something to be sat, or actually true, it has to always be true by the Vedic understanding. Right now we have many things that are temporarily true. Like right now, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I manage a spiritual center. I do these things, but these aren't what I'm doing for eternity. This is just something that's temporarily happening right now. So it's actually, by definition, it's not sat. So anyhow, we're going to get into the Bhagavad Gita, but Krishna, he starts off the Bhagavad Gita right away. When Arjuna finally does something very intelligent, he surrenders to Krishna as a guide. At first they were friends. And now, actually, this is a little esoteric, but actually the relationship as Krishna, who is God, he's the personality of Godhead in the happening of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita means Song of God. Krishna is God, and Krishna is the one speaking the Bhagavad Gita. But Arjuna, he had a relationship with God, and now you're going to find out, why would God come to this world? What is he doing here? What does he want from us? All of that is actually described in Bhagavad Gita. Every bit of that is described. But while he's here, it's interesting because God acts always quite wonderful, but also, he acts a lot like us in some ways, and he has friendships and relationships and all these things. So Arjuna was his friend. And so, actually, Krishna likes that relationship better if you can actually somehow develop a friendship with God than that of like a master and a servant. Just like I don't know if over time, if like if video, if I don't know, your last name is what again? Krishna. Krishnan. That's a great last name. But if I were to just call you Mrs. Krishnan, or Mrs. Krishnan all the time, Mrs. Krishnan, after a while you'd say, please call me video. We're friends now. Like this. So similarly, God in the relationship, oh Master, Almighty One, all the religions of the world, oh Almighty One. At some point, if you really get close to God, he'll be like, relax. You don't have to call me like, it's the equivalent of like Mr. President or Mr. Prime Minister or this, that, and the other. At some point, you get to know them. You might call him, the president's Don or Donnie or something like that. You might call him something a little bit more intimate. Like I'm sure his wife and kids call him, they don't call him Mr. President. Unless they're being like joking or weird or something like that. But anyhow, so God actually, there is the opportunity for heightened relationships, and friendship is one of them. But for the sake of the pastime, and really for the sake of giving a great gift to the world, Krishna had created the Leela in such a way, Leela or pastimes, in such a way that Arjuna, who's a topmost personality, was to get bewildered on the battle of Kurukshetra. Not because he was in ignorance, but because Krishna wanted to display this incredible conversation called the Bhagavad Gita. And this Bhagavad Gita is actually the greatest gift that we can have. And the reason that Srila Prabhupada, when he came to the West and he wanted to present Bhagavad Gita, he kept getting asked about Bhagavad Gita because they knew about Bhagavad Gita. And he's like, Bhagavad Gita is very good. And he would quote many verses. But then they were like, well, what commentary should we read? What version? And then he got a little bit embarrassed, and because he read through the commentaries here, and they all weren't getting to the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. Where what was happening is that Krishna would speak his verses in Sanskrit in Bhagavad Gita, the meaning was accepted, but the commentaries here were so wishy-washy and with their own interpretations. And what ended up happening is that he couldn't tell anyone one version of Bhagavad Gita that he felt was authentic and bona fide. So he decided, all right, this wasn't my plan, but I have to make a commentary of Bhagavad Gita, a little side plan here. And he made the commentary Bhagavad Gita as it is. And the whole purpose was to present Bhagavad Gita as Krishna spoke it, with the mood that Krishna spoke it, that was given in a time-tested lineage over many thousands of years. And so that Bhagavad Gita as it is, we have the copy here, many copies here. If you haven't read Bhagavad Gita as it is, I would totally recommend read. And if you can look, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, thousands of commentaries of Bhagavad Gita have been made. In the English world, in the Indian world, only one commentary of Bhagavad Gita has made millions of people all across the world, of all different cultures, creeds, and faiths, want to actually surrender to the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. And that Bhagavad Gita as it is was the very book that I read that made me completely want to change my life. And after I read it, I said, you know what? This is true. I know this is true at this point, and I have to do something about it. I know too much now. I can't unsee what I'm seeing now. Do you ever look at those memes on you're scrolling down social media, and like once you see it, you can't unsee it. So anyway, this is a younger generation thing. But once you see the thing in the picture, and it might be like one that's coming to my mind is there's this one girl, and she's dressed very scantily with very large top, and anyone looking at the photo, that will be probably the first thing they notice. And it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. But then if you look in the background, there's someone in a gorilla suit, but you don't really notice the person in the gorilla suit because they created a circumstance. But anyhow, once you see that person in the gorilla suit, you can't go back and not see it. It's there. So similarly, once you know this higher knowledge that's given in Bhagavad Gita, you're not going to be able to turn around and go back to do your normal activities in the world, because now the purpose of Bhagavad Gita was to enlighten you. And once you receive enlightenment, what was once fine in your life, it will be miserable, because you won't be able to go back and do things that you know ultimately can't give anyone any satisfaction. And so Bhagavad Gita teaches us about that. But before we go into it, we're going to go to the introduction, and we're going to chant the Sanskrit prayers that Prabhupada gave as what's called a Mangala Charana. And this is like an offering at the feet of the spiritual teachers before him, so that he can convey the pure message in disciplic succession. So these are some prayers. It would be nice to go through all the meanings, but then we won't speak anything on Bhagavad Gita. So we'll just chant them for the essence, and then later on we can maybe one day, if you come here enough, you'll learn all these prayers and the meanings. And I can tell you at least the meaning of the first prayer that we chant at the end. So without further ado, chant along. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Pachakapati Udashya Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavari Paschatyade Shatarine. All right. So we're studying Bhagavad Gita. Madhav even got me up to where I left off last time. So we're going to backtrack a little bit, and just so you understand, because we have hyacinth, is that it? Like that hyacinth or hyacinth? Hyacinth, like the flower. Okay, got it. So hyacinth is brand new. You've never heard of Bhagavad Gita before? Okay, so brand new to Bhagavad Gita, but still, even most I happens all the time. We go to the Indian store sometimes. I think we met you there a few times, and we try to meet many people. And at the Indian store, the obvious populace who's going to the Indian store are Indian people. And I'm trying to always tell them about Bhagavad Gita. Oh, I know Bhagavad Gita. I know Bhagavad Gita. Everyone knows Bhagavad Gita. All right, that's wonderful. But actually, when you get to talking to them, and you actually, they tell you what they know about Bhagavad Gita, it becomes quite evident that most have no idea about anything about Bhagavad Gita, because the spirit is not actually there. So everybody could use an introduction back to the basics of Bhagavad Gita. If actually everyone understood Bhagavad Gita, the whole world as we know it would be a paradise. Yeah. And people would be living in an incredible way. But unfortunately, because this knowledge isn't well known, we get a different paradigm. And the world as we know it, and the people as we know it, can't find happiness in this world. Because there's a science to happiness, actually. And Bhagavad Gita tells you the science to happiness. And it's not at all what you've been conditioned to think the science for happiness is. Everybody does everything ever in this world. Do you know why?
To be happy.
Yeah, they think it'll make them happy. But who's actually happy? Who is 100% happy? You know anybody who's always happy? Very few people are actually always happy in this world. Why? Because very few people understand the science to happiness. But there is a science to happiness. And unless you understand the science to happiness, you cannot be happy. And that's the fact, actually. But if you want to be happy, Bhagavad Gita is here. You can learn, you can enter into the science to ultimately being happy. So, it starts at text 11 in the second chapter where Krishna finally speaks. The first chapter is Arjuna seeing the scene of a war, and he is dreading having to fight with his relatives and family members who find themselves on both sides of this war, this political predicament. And the worst is that on the other side, his cousin, who is illegally stolen the throne by very heinous and murderous and evil means, is ruling the world currently, and him and his brothers, Arjuna and his brothers, are actually entitled to the kingdom, and they're actually trying to rule the world righteously, but they have been persecuted so heavily and by all kinds of political circumstances. The Arjuna's two revered teachers, Bhishma and Drona, happen to be on the other side. And he just is losing it on seeing them that I can't fight them. I don't want to fight this war. I can't do this. Even though as his duty as a warrior is to protect the populace of the world, even though if this side continues to rule the world, they will create havoc throughout the world and have already created havoc throughout the world. But he just, fighting his loved ones in Bhishma and Drona, he just can't do it. So he goes through all kinds of moral and Vedic, injunctions of the scriptures of why he should not fight. And he actually, it's very telling because Arjuna doesn't just speculate, I shouldn't fight for this reason. He says, no, it says in the Vedic scriptures you should not do this. It says in the Vedic scriptures you should not do that. And it says in the Vedic scriptures you should not do this. So he gives Krishna all of the reasons why he doesn't feel that he should fight in Bhagavad Gita. So no problem. And so he's giving the reasons why he should not fight. But ultimately what ends up happening is that he realizes that with all of his reasoning, he can't find solace, he can't find peace, and actually at some point he's sitting there, he cries, he drops his bow. And this is like the best warrior in the world at the time. You know, there's no superior warrior. There maybe was a few, but there was none who was so acclaimed as Arjun. So, Mukunda and Archit, very good. So what ends up happening, he does something very intelligent. He sees Krishna. Krishna, he is in a unique position. Both sides, he's related to both sides, and both sides approached him to fight for them. But Krishna, he realized, well, he's also God, and he's orchestrating everything. But a very special personality. But everyone was recognizing that what Krishna does is amazing, and if Krishna's on our side, we'll win. So Krishna, he is like, well, you both have asked me. You're both my relatives. I won't be able to fight for either of you. I have affection for both sides. There's no way I can even fight. But I'll give you this. One of you, he's a great prince in Dwarka. One of you can have my topmost army that I possess. And one of you, even though I won't fight, can have me as an advisor. So Arjuna, because he loved Krishna so much, he wanted him as an advisor. And Duryodhan, because he valued power, and if Krishna wasn't going to fight, he was like, all right, well, you're practically useless then. All right, give me the army. So it was mutually agreed, and Krishna was happy, everyone was happy. So Krishna decides, okay, I will not fight, but I can act as your chariot driver, which actually in a sense is kind of like fighting. But Krishna is very tricky, actually. You're going to find this out. And if you start dealing with Krishna in your life, God, You'll find there's no better trickster or cheater than God himself. You think you can... We actually are all trying to cheat God in many ways in this world. But we're actually, at the end of the day, we're the ones being cheated. And our karma is the result of our cheating in this world. Our karma, it comes in a very unique package, and we thought we were going to get the upper hand in whatever activities we were doing. But when push comes to shove and how everything works out, it always works out perfectly. This is the law of karma. Nothing is accidental. Nothing is ever unfair. Nothing is ever not how it's supposed to be. It's exactly as you need it in that moment. It's exactly what you also, you paid for with your own actions. In the Bible, it said, as you reap, you shall sow. And that's the truth, actually. And this is the law of karma. Krishna will get into that at some point. But Krishna is going to ultimately teach us how to become free from the very stringent laws of karma and not be bound by them anymore. That is a science in Bhagavad Gita given. But it takes through the process of yoga to transcend karma. So there's karma yoga, how to offer your karma in yoga. Then there's jnana yoga, how to, through knowledge, reach the state of yoga. And then there's ashtanga yoga, through mystic meditation, reach the state of yoga. And then there's the highest yoga that Krishna really recommends, but he said it's the most rare and most difficult, and that's bhakti yoga. And that bhakti yoga is through the yoga of devotion, love, and faith. And all other processes of yoga are actually only depending on bhakti yoga. That's what's not understood by most. But underlying, like for instance, even the process of karma, the very things, for most people know if you go to work, you get a job, or if you go to school, you get a degree, right? Do you know why this method works? What's the underlying predetermined reason this method works?
Reward?
Yes, reward. But even before the reward, why are you sure that they would give you a reward? How do you know that they'll give you the reward?
Hard work.
What?
Hard work.
Yeah, but even not necessarily. How do you know that even hard work gives you the rewards that you want out of life? Something that you've seen previously has developed faith. And faith is the thing that has actually impelled you to act. Only because you have faith that if you go to work, you earn money, do you go to work. If you didn't have faith in that, you wouldn't go. So this is actually how devotion and faith is actually the underlier to give all results of life. And if you know this, and you actually know this and live by this, you'll rely more on that faith than you will on the actual other processes that you have faith in. But because we don't know that science, we do so many things. We do the process of karma yoga. We do the process of jnana yoga, and the process of mystic elevation through ashtanga yoga. But if you actually knew what was empowering all of them, the faith in the process, you would actually rely on faith alone. And that condensed faith is the process of bhakti. Now this is very scientific, and it's very, it's not for ordinary people. Most people are not going to be able to master this top teaching called bhakti. I myself have been practicing for 8 years, and the longer I practice, the farther I realize I am from the goal. The longer I practice, I'm like, wow, the more I know, the more I realize, the less I know. So this is the nature. But if you take to this process, you will have divine help. You will have God's help along the way. And you will be able to make strides that you can't even imagine are possible. So anyhow, this is a little sum up of what's going to be explained in Bhagavad Gita. But Arjuna does something very intelligent. He realizes he doesn't have the advancer. He's completely bewildered. He's completely confused. Anyone ever feel like that in life? I have no idea what to do. I've reached this point. On one side, I've got problems over here. On another side, I've got problems over here. They both look like they're surrounding me, and I don't know which way to go, and I don't know what's going to be beneficial for me. Anyone ever feel like this?
Everywhere.
Yes, everywhere. Amen. Great. This is why Bhagavad Gita came for you. Because Arjuna felt like that. To exemplify, Krishna allowed him to reach that state, even though he was an enlightened being. Krishna had put him in that state because he wanted to share a teaching with the world that'll allow everybody to transcend that. to move past that, to have answers. Are you all looking for answers in life? Yes? Anyone think you've got it all figured out? If so, don't worry. Just meet me back in a year when everything falls apart, and then you'll realize, you'll realize you don't know anything. But don't worry. If you're feeling confused and you don't know what to do, Bhagavad Gita is spoken for that purpose. It's the point of Bhagavad Gita, to give shelter, to give enlightenment, so that we actually know what to do in this world. So Krishna first, Arjuna was lamenting. The first thing he says is, you're speaking like a learned person, but you're mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. So he tells him, like, what you're lamenting for is not worth lamenting for. Anyone lament a little bit in life, in life circumstances? Oh, woe is me. Why is this like this? Why is this like this? I don't know. Things like that. And we're lamenting over so many things. But actually, Krishna is saying that the wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. That's all we lament for. If this person's living, if this person's dead, if I get these, this person does what I want them to do, or this dead matter, comes to me that I want, whether it's wealth or this, that, and the other thing. So anyhow, this is what we're doing. He says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So actually, Krishna does something amazing. He tells us about the eternal nature of you. And I'll give you an example how you can at least test this thus far in your life. Let's see. Avani, how old are you?
I'm 22.
22. That's very good. All right. So you have a nice 22-year-old body. 15 years ago, did your body look just like this?
No.
No. But how about you? Are you the same person?
No.
You don't think you're the same person?
No, I'm super different.
You're super different. Are you sure?
I mean, I think differently. I know a lot more.
Yes, but is that that's all? These are all temporary things, but actually, you as the observer of life, you're the same observer of life. You're the same one observing life. There's not the person, the personality that was born in this family. Even though you maybe have matured in your mentality, but you're actually the same person. You're the same exact observer of life. And when you're in the future, 60 years later, you'll have an old body. But you'll be the same you. All throughout, and Krishna is telling you there's a science called reincarnation, but he's telling you that the eternality of you, but we don't know who you actually is. We identify you. Thank you. Can we get them some prasad? Make sure that they leave with prasad. Thank you, Madhav. So, the same you is always been there, and actually the same you will always be. The mind, the mentality will change. The body will change, but that's not you. A lot of times, a lot of people know I'm not this body. They have some knowing of the soul, but most people have no idea they're not this mind. And they think, oh yes, that's not me, but this inner thing that I'm working with in my head here, this is me. That's not you either, actually. You are the what's called the sakshi, or the witness, the one witnessing reality. That's who you really are, and that will never change. Whether you're witnessing reality through a baby's body, witnessing reality through an old person's body, or witnessing reality in a youthful body, that's not going to change. So Krishna, he tells that right away. You have to know this. If you don't know this, you're going to always be bewildered by what's happening in this world. He said, as the embodied soul passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. And the self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. So he says the example I just gave. As you pass through in this body and the same you is there, the same witness experience of life is there, actually at death, the same thing is happening. You carry on and you just get a new body based on certain circumstances. And the circumstances is called karma. Does everyone know why you got born in the family that you were born in? with the people surrounding you, everything? Does everyone know why? What do you think?
I would assume it has to do with karma.
Yes, it's because that's exactly what we sowed in previous existence. Our exact actions always reciprocate and give us the exact results that we deserve and need. It's not, don't feel like everything's about punishment and reward. Actually, you could be very rich and be very spiritually poor, and you could be materially very poor and very spiritually rich. You know, you can go through all kinds of troubles and tribulations in this world and be very spiritually enlivened. And you can have a very easygoing path in this material world, but spiritually you've are practically dead. So actually, we have to stop seeing in these dualities, like, oh, well, comfort and pleasure in this world is good, and hardship and difficulty in this world is bad. It's not actually like that. Actually, everything implicating us in this world by the standard of what's given in the Bhagavad Gita is going to be, it's all bad in this world. You don't want to deal with the temporary nature in this world, which is why he talks about the next thing. He says, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So winter is going to come. It always comes here in Syracuse. It starts a little earlier than most places here. But it's going to come. You're not going to like it. But you have to just learn to tolerate it. If you're in Syracuse, you tolerate winter. If you don't, if you try to fight winter, you're a fool. You know, I mean, some people, you know, unless you move, you know, you're not really going to be able to fight winter here. You know, we do. We get in our houses, we put the heaters on and all these things. But ultimately, we have to tolerate winter here. And but you have to tolerate everything that arises in life. You're going to have happy situations and you're going to have disturbing situations. There's no stopping it. If you are a fool, you'll stop. You'll try to, you know, always, you know, counteract everything. But you can't. When you're trying to counteract this disturbing situation over here, another one's sneaking up behind you. You can't stop it. You just have to learn to tolerate them. So he's talking to Arjuna that you're lamenting what's not worthy of lamentation. Like, who's, you know, is it wise to lament, oh no, winter's coming again. Can you stop winter? No, it comes every year. Similarly, you cannot stop distress and or you know, you know, things that aren't so pleasing to your senses in this world. Sometimes you taste good things, but guess what? Sometimes you don't. You know, you taste not so good things. Sometimes you hear nice, beautiful, pretty things, and other times you hear horrible things. You know, sometimes you smell good things, and sometimes you're walking behind someone and you don't smell something good. You know, something like this. You know, this happens. But that's the nature of this world. He says, "O best among men, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation." So this is what we have to do. We have to somehow find a steadiness when these things are coming. Okay, this is a good circumstance. I increased my wealth today. Good. Oh, I lost everything today. Good. You know, this thing happened, that thing happened. It's all actually the person who can be steady no matter what's happening. This person is eligible for liberation, means they don't have to suffer anymore. This person doesn't have to suffer. Does that sound like a good idea? Who's interested in not suffering? Yes. You're not? No one is interested in not suffering? Everyone wants to not suffer. When you're suffering, the first thing you want to do is just like, how can I get rid of this? I'll give you an example. It's a crude example, but it's a funny example. You know, like, anyone ever get caught somewhere where you really had to use the bathroom, but you couldn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, you really had to, you know, use the restroom, but like for whatever reason, the social circumstance, I can't get to a bathroom. Yeah, in New York City, it always happens. Yeah, they have no public bathrooms for anybody, and it's like, it's hell, you know. And you know, if that happens, it's a terrible circumstance. But, you know, as soon as you can go and relieve the suffering, you're just like, oh my God, thank goodness. And it's not like going to the bathroom creates so much happiness in your life. But what it really does is it relieves suffering. That's what's really happening. No one's like can't wait. You know, no one's planning elaborate trips to the bathroom. That's just not what you do. But at the same time, everybody's going to the bathroom. Why? To relieve a misery, because there's a buildup of things that really need to leave the body, and that's what going to the bathroom is for, to getting rid of the things that no longer belong or are toxic to the body. So such a person who can learn not to be disturbed by these things that are happening in life, they're eligible for liberation, meaning they're eligible to become free from suffering. They can let these things go and let them pass, and to keep with the example. So this is very important. We're all interested in learning the science. Yes, I would like it to be free from suffering. Free from suffering doesn't mean that in this world, things that are not pleasing to your senses do not happen. You can't stop that. In this world, it's going to come. It's not like in this world you can somehow stop winter, or you can stop, climactic inconveniences and so on. No. But to make a little bit more crude example, in Pirates of the Caribbean, there's Johnny Depp's character. What is his name?
Jack Sparrow.
Yes, Jack Sparrow. So Jack Sparrow, he's arguing with somebody in some drunken way, and they're telling him about a problem that they're about to face, and he was like, "Mate, the problem is not the problem. Your attitude about the problem is the problem." And actually, he's speaking like Bhagavad Gita there, because actually that's the actual fact of the matter, is that that's what that past verse was talking about. The problems in life, or the circumstances, are not the actual issues. The circumstances, they're what they are. But it's our attitude or understanding of the circumstances that creates the problem. It's not that, me and Hyacinth, we can look at the same thing, and she could be have the same exact circumstance, and she could be, happy as a clam, and I could be bawling my eyes out. This happens all the time. People come together, they're born in the same family with the same parents, and one sibling's very happy with the situation, one sibling is disgusted with the situation. We can be working in the same exact spot, doing the same exact duties, practically, and one person can be very happy with the situation, another person's disgusted with the situation. But it actually has to do with the mentality of the person. So we have to learn how to have this liberated mentality where we don't have to suffer, no matter what the circumstances are. This is a very high-level thing. So who can do? He says, those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation. This seers have concluded by studying the nature of both. So this is actually going to give you a hint on what to focus on. The seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent there is no endurance. What could that mean?
The things in this world are temporary.
Yes. So things that are factually not real, there is no endurance to them. So like, for instance, I'll give you we'll do a quiz. This harmonium, is it existent by this analogy, or is it a non-existent?
Non-existent.
Yes. Why? Because this harmonium will not keep its shape eternally. It's not always going to be here. It will break down into many other different forms. It's a temporary existence right now. But actually, practically everything we're focusing on in this world is of a temporary existence. Your position in society, your position in career, your position in relationship, your, relationship to wife, family, home, all these things. All of this is actually non-existent. But we put so much energy and intensity and endeavor on all of these things. But those who are seers of the truth have concluded that which is not ultimately what to focus on, or true, it has no endurance, meaning it won't last. And of the existent, there is no cessation, meaning of that which does exist, which is factual, which is always going to be, it will never not be that. So I kind of gave Avani a hint about one of the subject matters that is always existent, and there will never be a cessation of that. And you can do this by, the seers have concluded, by studying the nature of both. You can study the nature. And as I was kind of telling you, Avani, well, you were like, well, no, I'm not the same person. But you're the exact same soul. You're the exact same witness of life. The witness hasn't changed. The mentality changed. That's because the mentality is non-existent. It's always going to change. The body changed. That's because the body is non-existent. But the witness, the experiencing living entity, it's the same one. You're the same one experiencing now as you'll be when you're 60. You're the same one experiencing as you were a year ago. You didn't change experiencers. You're still the one creating an identification with this world. And this is the science of the soul. So this is what Krishna is going to really get into. He says, know that which pervades the entire body is indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. So now he's telling him what you're lamenting for in war, it's not worth lamenting for. Why? Because there's a soul here. All of these beings, you're crying about them leaving their body, but they're not this body, nor are you. And actually, this could be huge because we, especially when dealing with death, we're always lamenting at death. Oh my gosh, woe is me, woe are them, where are they now? They're gone, But actually, if you know, like some people get really attached to their clothing. But if your clothing, my clothing's a little special today, but if your clothing is, ruined, yeah, no one wants to see their clothing ruined. But you're just at the end of the day, all right, this is stained or this is ripped, I can't use this anymore. Let me get a new one. You don't protest too much. Y'all just get a new one. It's not a big deal. So similarly, when people lose their bodies, which is, a cute way to call death, but when people die, all they're doing is their body is no longer suitable for inhabiting anymore, and then they get a new body. So if you know this, it's not such a bewildering situation. But because people don't know this, they're lamenting bitterly, no, but like, it's fine. They're going on to something else. Actually, they're probably getting a much better situation. We were, one of our congregation members, Holly, maybe do some of you remember Holly? Makun, do you remember Holly? I don't know if anyone else got to meet Holly, but she was, I feel so grateful that Krishna put her in our life, and we didn't know she was going to leave. But for the past few years of her life, she was with us. And even at the last moments of her life, and we didn't know it was the last moments, her family invited us to come and pray for her. And little did we know that only an hour later they were going to take her off the life support and anything. But actually seeing her in that condition that she was in, because we know what we know, and we're not trying to cling on to, Holly and that body and that family and this, and we just saw actually how kind of miserable a situation that it came to be. She's on a ventilator, she can't breathe on her own. It's just horrible. We just, we were kind of begging Krishna, please, whenever, if you could take her soon, it would be better than living like this. Either have her fully recover or just take her. Don't have her drag on like this. And little did we know, because we weren't in the inner loop of her family, that they were going to part ways with her that night. But anyhow, well, you can see like that if you're not, if you know that she's going to go on. If that was the last, if I didn't know that Holly was going to have an existence in the next life, I would, be like, no, Holly, come on, you have to somehow make it. But even that, and Krishna will tell about that later, even if you think like that, no one can stop death anyway. Who do you know that stopped death? Nobody. The only one maybe that people talk of Jesus Christ, that he stopped death, but then he disappeared and no one saw what happened after that. So you're then like, but he, Jesus is talking about eternal life, and Krishna is also talking about eternal life. But the process of death in this world is happening. That's what the process is. But the soul actually does not die. That's one of the sciences of reincarnation. And you could say, well, that sounds nice, but you're going to just say that without any proof? Is anyone maybe thinking like that? And that might be a problem. I just tell you, well, the soul is eternal. But Avani might be a little, skeptical minded, like, I don't know about that. Yes? Anyone a little skeptical that the soul might be eternal? You all agree. I could just tell you anything, and you're just yeah, that makes sense.
Not anything.
Yeah, but
No, because you're talking about Bhagavad Gita, I believe.
okay, so it's because it's written in the book. Mata believes, so no problem. But you can actually perceive this. Some scientists have actually perceived this. There's a lot of phenomena where they're studying. I saw a really interesting case of these kids in Poland. Just a few days ago, I was looking at it. But they had died in a fire in a car accident, and then they were twins. And interestingly enough, their parents were lamenting over it. It was a horrible situation. But their parents had two twins, two girls, just like they did last time. But then they were talking about it, and they changed villages. They wanted to completely restart their life. And but these girls were talking about weird things from like their past lives. And so that's like, that's especially the Judeo-Christian Western paradigm. That starts to be like, all right, well maybe kids are just stupid and crazy or something. But actually, when you really break down what all children talk about this. One of my cousins, she was telling her mother about the fire that she was in her last time life, and that she misses her old mommy and all these things like that. And I remember when my aunt was saying that, she was just like, yeah, kids have the craziest imagination, things like that, and we thought too, because that was our paradigm. But when you actually see, this is a common phenomena that kids are able, and actually when a lot of times some people have actually linked up the dots of what the kids have said, and there have been thousands of cases proven where they were able to actually locate where they were in the previous life. And this is only possible. I mean, you could look. Actually, they took it down. I've been looking for it everywhere, and I can't find it. But 60 Minutes once did a special on one of the boys. Now you can find that same story on Netflix and things. But there was a special they did called Airplane Boy, but I can't find it anymore. I used to always link people to this, and 60 Minutes did a special where this person was able to connect the dots to his past life, and you grew up in the Bible Belt with the very strict Christian parents, but it became so compelling what he was saying, the kid was saying, that they eventually linked the dots and realized, wow, they learned something else. So anyhow, but this is understood in the East. Everyone understands this in the East. This is all throughout India and even Japan and China, all the East, they understand reincarnation. So, but if you don't understand reincarnation, or you don't just believe it, there is actually scientific evidence in this world, and there's evidence of phenomena that are really the only way it's explainable is by this principle. So, that's good. So he's saying only the material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is subject to destruction. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. So basically, at the end of the day, what you're lamenting for, why you can't do your duty, is only based on temporary concerns. But actually, if you look at the truth of the matter, these temporary concerns shouldn't be such a big deal to you. And actually, we can all look at it. We all have our own fight. We all have our own concerns in life. And a lot of times we make a lot of temporary excuses for why we shouldn't do something that's our duty. Why something that should be done. Now, understanding what your duty is, that's a whole nother thing that Krishna will reveal. How do you understand your duty? I don't have all day to work with you. Even though tomorrow, if you did study Bhagavad Gita, that would be great, because it was spoken on. It's a very auspicious day to do it. But anyhow, if you know that something should be done, if it's your societal duty or even your parental duty or even your religious duty to do something, if your reasons for not doing it are of the temporary or asat nature, it's not considered wise. The wise, they do things on factors of the soul. Well, what is actually proper for the soul? And so how to act on that platform, that's explained in Bhagavad Gita, and it's going to be completely different than anything you've ever done previously, because all we've been taught to do is act from the temporary platform. Well, is that comfortable for my body? Is that, and there's many things, like a lot of people understand that pursuing higher education is a good thing. But somebody who might be a little less intelligent might be, well, I don't like doing hard work. It's not very pleasing to my senses. I'd much rather, go watch Netflix and eat snacks and, play video games and do these things. So the person who does that, they develop a lifestyle of doing things that are very pleasurable to the senses. They'll get one result. And the one person who's disciplined and they work very hard in their studies and education, they'll get another result. But who usually gets the better result? What do you guys think?
The discipline.
Yeah, the person who has discipline. They get, at least they fulfill their goals. Where the person who is undisciplined and always wants to go for the easy forms of pleasure in the form of food, sex, and this, that, and the other thing, they get some result too, and they get some temporary pleasure, but they don't get a lasting pleasure. So, whereas, if you work very hard and get a good career, it's a much longer lasting pleasure than all the times you wanted to eat junk food and watch your favorite movie on Netflix. You also get pleasure in the moment for doing that, but when you stack it up at the end of your life, you're going to be like, I wish I did more than this. No one really feels good after binging Netflix for 6 hours. Nobody feels like I've definitely achieved something. No one feels good after getting off the video games after, 10 hours. And if you do feel good about it, maybe you should reevaluate, because it's not, or no one feels good binge eating, or feels good, going on any type of addictive binge, intoxication, sex, this, that, and the other. No one is going to ultimately feel fulfilled or satisfied doing things like this. But the disciplined person who knows what is actually lasting, they'll feel satisfied. And the person who knows the nature of the soul, and the person who understands the spiritual reality and existence, they'll find so much more satisfaction than even the person who works hard, like the great business magnate or the great scholar in this world. They know they'll work towards something that's even greater than that and lasts even further. So, these things are all understood by Bhagavad Gita. Oh, Hare Krishna, Lakshmi. So, let's read at least one verse from Prabhupada, because that's what I'm supposed to do. Let's do the Sanskrit. Ya enang veti hantarang Yaschainang manyate hatam Ubhoto na vijanito Nayang hanti na hanyate Yaha, anyone, enam, this, veti, knows, hantaram, the killer, yaha, anyone, cha, also, enam, this, manyate, thinks, hatam, killed, ubho, both of them, to, they, na, never, vijanita, in knowledge, na, never, ayam, this, hanti, kills, na, nor, hanyate, be killed. Translation. He who thinks that the living entity is the slayer, or that he is slain, does not understand. One who is in knowledge knows that the self slays not nor is slain. Purport. When an embodied living entity is hurt by fatal weapons, it is to be known that the living entity within the body is not killed. The spirit soul is so small that it is impossible to kill him by any material weapon, as is evident from the previous verses. Nor is the living entity killable because of his spiritual constitution. What is killed or is supposed to be killed is the body only. This, however, does not at all encourage killing of the body. The Vedic injunction is mahingshat sarvabhutani, never commit violence to anyone. Nor does understanding that the living entity is not killed encourage animal slaughter. Killing the body of anyone without authority is abominable and is punishable by the law of the state as well as by the law of the Lord. Arjuna, however, is being engaged in killing for the principle of religion and not whimsically. So you could say, well, what if the religion's telling you to kill? That's can be crazy. That could be fanatical, right? But the principle of religion is this: that if by killing you can protect those who are innocent, if you can by killing you can protect those who are innocent, then actually killing is good. Like for instance, if there's a very dangerous animal that entered the home and it started, look all the kids here, started attacking children and all the innocent people here, and someone took a gun and shoot it, would we all, turn on the person who killed the animal and be like, how could you have done such a thing? No, we would thank you. I was very fearful for my life, whatever this thing is. So similarly, when there are people who, and this is the meaning of acts, we should understand what is, in the Vedic understanding, what is religion is that which is pleasing to others, and that which is irreligion is that which gives harm to others. So this is sin. Sin is that which ultimately disturbs others, harasses others, and this is what, piety is that which ultimately pleases others. So, to create circumstances where you're always disturbing others is, these people are locked away by society. Let's say, there are all kinds of different criminals, who steals from others, who, is cheating others, who does this, that, and the other. Each has their own appropriate punishment by the law. The state already knows this. But similarly, God, through the laws of karma, usually works in tandem with the law of the state, where due to the laws of karma, the law of the state will act accordingly. But sometimes you can avoid the laws of the state. I have personal experience. I wasn't always a religious person. I had an illegal herb business at one point earlier in my life, and I ended up getting arrested. And but I realized that this herb, wasn't such a big deal. I didn't think it was such a big deal, and now it's not. It's legal everywhere. But at the time, it was illegal, and I had this herb, and I had, I was making, I was gathering money through the distribution of this, and I was doing quite well, actually. But interestingly enough, how I started this, my grandfather left me an inheritance, and he left me $12,000 inheritance. So I actually used my money and inheritance to, start. I went to school for business, so I used my inheritance to start this business, and I saw it was a very lucrative endeavor. But I wanted to see if I can cheat the system, and I did for like 4 years. I cheated the system, and I did quite well. But interestingly enough, I did quite well until I didn't, and then it all went down in flames, and I had to deal with the law and the police and things like that. And when everything was said and done, and I bought the lawyers, and I bought this, that, and the other thing, the exact amount that my grandfather left me, that's exactly what I was left with at the end. Literally like the same $12,000 that he left me. So what you're supposed to get in this world is by karma. Actually, it's not by your endeavor. I made so many endeavors and ups and downs, and I went up, and it looked like I was going to be a victor until I didn't. And then downtime came, and I was left with exactly the same amount that I was destined. So this is, we have to understand this thing. Now, in this circumstance, in this verse, even though, yes, killing people is bad. Everyone knows. It's irreligious. To do any harm to others is sinful. This is what it means by going against the principle of religion, or doing something for the principle of religion, for protecting the innocent, to establish the peace and safety and security of others. You may have to kill. Police do it all the time, and no one even protests. People protest when they kill innocent people, but when they kill bad guys who deserve to be killed, and no one says, "Oh, that's not such an issue." But on the same token, we should, if you understand from the platform of the soul, you actually know what this verse is saying. That The living entity, the soul, is not killed. And neither did the soul actually kill, because what can really be killed? Maybe that soul urged its own body to kill the body of another, but actually that same experiencer of life is just going to go on. The eternal principle of that person will go on and have another existence. So you actually can't kill anybody. There's no killing. On the spiritual level, if you understand the spiritual truth. But there is, we're not on that platform, so we do have to follow proper rules. Like the Nazis, they took this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, and they were telling their soldiers, yeah, you're not going to really kill them anyway. It's, like this. But ultimately, because they reaped what they sowed, they were defeated, and they weren't able to be successful. So we should also not take advantage of this. But we can also understand on the spiritual level that there is an eternal nature. And if we understand that, there's a lot of implications on how we can live our life that are completely different and completely beneficial if we understand this. So our whole goal here is to start to awaken the knowledge of who you really are. And I'll tell you why it's very important. Anyone here use GPS? Yes. And most people now use GPS. I myself, I can't really go anywhere without it anymore. At one point, in my youth, I remember my parents had the maps. And we were on the road trips, and we're pulling out the maps, and we're going this way, and then we have to go this road. But now everything is GPS. Well, one of the functions of GPS, you need to know two things to properly type in your GPS. What are the two things you need to know?
You're starting and endpoint.
Yes. Where you start, where are you now, and where are you going? If you know those two things, you can have a good calculation. But if you write your starting point is somewhere completely different than where you are, how good will the directions of your GPS be? They'll be useless. So similarly, if you from the platform of the body are thinking you're this body and you don't know who you actually are, and you're acting and doing, and your goal, your destination is happiness. Everyone wants happiness. But you're going this way, that way, and the other thing, but you think that your coordinates are over here and you don't know where you actually are, you're going to get the wrong directions and you're not going to get to happiness. And that's exactly what's happening with everybody. They think they're going to be happy acting from the platform of the body and trying to please the body's senses and thinking that brings happiness. What the tongue tastes good, that brings happiness. What the skin feels good, that brings happiness. What the eyes see good, that brings happiness. But that does not bring happiness. Why? Because you're not that thing. That's the machinery. Similarly, you all have anyone have a car? Vehicle? You have a car? Okay. Do you get so much extra happiness when you detail your car and give it the finest washings and all these things? Maybe you aesthetically, you look at it, oh, that looks much nicer. But, it doesn't matter how much coats of wax or this, that, and the other. It really doesn't do anything for the person in the car. You just might be riding around with a shinier vehicle or something like that. So similarly, detailing all these facets of the body and its senses is actually not going to nourish the soul. Why? Because it has nothing to do with really who you really are. It's just a temporary thing. So Bhagavad Gita is giving us this eternal knowledge, and this is just the start. This is chapter 2 of 18, and the whole 18 chapters, by the end of it, you're on a different platform of existence, a different reality. You're thoroughly enlightened, and you'll never be able to unsee what you've learned. So if you're interested in such an enlightening journey, study Bhagavad Gita. But did you guys know Bhagavad Gita is spoken tomorrow? It's the Bhagavad Gita Jayanti is tomorrow. It's the birthday of Bhagavad Gita. Gita Jayanti is tomorrow for Moksha Ekadashi. So we're studying Bhagavad Gita and we're inspiring everyone, please. And if you don't have any copy of Bhagavad Gita, please take Bhagavad Gita. We offer them here. Some donation for them would be very nice. And if you don't, if you have Bhagavad Gita already, a good thing to do on Moksha Ekadashi is gift Bhagavad Gita to someone else. So, give this Bhagavad Gita to someone else. If you've never read Bhagavad Gita before, like maybe Hyacinth, you're like, I'm just coming across Bhagavad Gita. You get Bhagavad Gita for you and you study it, and you'll be very happy. So anyhow, this is our this is kind of the message for today, that you can go a lot further in life if you understand your coordinates, who you actually are, and what can actually bring you happiness. If you're writing in the wrong coordinates, you're not going to get the right destination. And our whole life we've been writing in the wrong coordinates. We haven't been finding happiness, even though we've been chasing everything we've ever done was always to try and make ourselves more happy, but it hasn't worked yet. Why? Because you're typing in the wrong coordinates. You don't know who you actually are. And if you know how to act from the platform of the soul, you can be happy. But if you continue acting from the platform of the body and the mind, you'll never be happy. So please try to understand the teachings and learnings of the soul, and then you can be happy. So we do that here, we teach that here. We offer literally opportunity every day to study here. Those of you who would like, you could check your schedule. You can come. We offer at least a class and different forms of worship that are meant to help you go deeper in that every day here. So you're welcome to join us any day of the week. So anyway, I'll leave it there. Is there anyone who has some question? Anything? Questions are good. You know, we like question, or you're all ready now to join on the journey of Bhagavad Gita?
I don't have a question, but last week coming back from New Jersey with Parth Prabhu, he's like, how did you get places before GPS? Just like you said.
Yeah, it was pretty like, I don't know how the heck we did it either. Because now the roads are so complicated.
There were
Like,
maps,
phew.
and then there was MapQuest where you would print out directions and hope you didn't miss.
That's
the road.
right. Even I remember traveling as a kid, we didn't even have that.
Well, no, yeah. First, and then-
Yeah, it was always the map. But yeah, and similarly now, you know, I don't know how people can keep navigating this world without the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, because it's essential if they want to actually be happy. You know, so that's our whole point. Any other question or comment, thing like this, or you're all sold? Okay. So great. I hope you guys take to Bhagavad Gita, and yeah, you'll really benefit. I know personally, I know two people in this room. I know Madhav. When he read Bhagavad Gita, he was really deeply inspired and wanted to completely transform his life to fulfill the teachings, the import of Bhagavad Gita. I personally, it happened with me, and then even with my wife, who she's also here. She was together with me in the beginning. We were dating. She was like, not so serious about wanting to read and study and all these things. And but she worked on a horse farm at the time. Her family owns horses, like 60 plus horses on their farm. And so it's nice. But she was out training one of the horses, and one of the horses one day just bucked her up 6 feet in the air. She fell right on her back, and we thought we were I don't know, should we break her back or something? But basically she went out for 2 weeks straight, couldn't move, in bed, bedridden for 2 weeks straight. And what did she do in that time? She read Bhagavad Gita, and actually now if you ask her, she said it sucked. It was very displeasing to the senses to get bucked off a horse and get thrown on the ground like that. But if you ask her, she said that was a necessary and wonderful thing that happened because she got to study Bhagavad Gita. So I'm not threatening you all, but I'm saying, don't make Krishna do something like that to you before you study Bhagavad Gita. It's in your best interest to just study on your own strength and will. So anyhow, that's our class. Thank you guys for joining. I really, really, really hope you get to study Bhagavad Gita in your life. And the fruits themselves will come, and you'll be liberated from suffering, which is step one, and you'll get all kinds of happiness and good fortune and all kinds of other things yet to come as well. So anyhow, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. All right, we're going to do an arati now. Mukunda is going to offer, it's a ritual. And basically he's offering some articles to the Lord which are pleasing. On the altar it looks like we have some pretty statues. when you understand the inherent spiritual nature of all things, you can also connect to that spiritual energy. It can come and manifest in any which way, through people, through things, and this is an authorized way. It's called deity worship. And so we have some ritual we'll perform. Well, just Mukunda will perform, but our main ritual that we'll perform is we'll just sing. We'll sing 2 songs that ultimately glorify the Lord in His wonderful engagements in the spiritual world. And then ultimately we'll sing at the end. The most potent thing that we do here is we chant the names of God. And this is very, very important that we do this, because we are actually, what's going to be revealed in Bhagavad Gita, that we are part and parcel of God, and we're intimately connected to God. And that the soul, who we really are, it can be happiest in relation to God, because that's its source. That's what enlivens and gives energy to the soul. Just like any machine, it can function properly if you plug it into the power source. If you don't plug it into the power source, it will not function properly. So similarly, if we are plugged into God, we can actually function how we were meant to function, in happiness, in joy, and bliss. But if we don't plug into God, we want to plug into something else, we get a different result. And that's the result that we're currently experiencing. So anyhow, easiest way to plug in, you just direct your consciousness to God, and you call, just how, do you know the thing that people like to hear the most in this world? There's one thing. Their name. Yes, scientifically proven. Nobody enjoys hearing anything else other than their name more than that. Why? Because, now maybe there's some exceptions, but practically everyone likes to hear their name. Because why? It means someone's acknowledging me, and someone's validating me, someone's accepting me. So people like to hear their name, actually. It's the most. So similarly, that quality also is coming from God. God enjoys the acknowledgement of the spirit souls. And for those souls who acknowledge God and call towards God, He will reciprocate for sure for that person. That's why it says in the Bible, he who calls upon the name of the Lord, he shall be saved. That's why Jesus says, hallowed be thy name. Holy is the name of God. Because anything addressing God is, factually, it's non-different from God. And His name, you can factually associate with God in all of His full power, pleasure, and potency. But maybe you just have to have some faith to engage you in that activity. But hopefully we've stirred up a little faith. And the proof in the pudding, do you know what the best proof is in how good how the taste of the pudding would be? If you ate it, if you yourself eat it. So the proof in the pudding, just try it. Try adding the mantra to your life. Try calling to God regularly in your life, even if you don't resonate with those names of God, which are very intimate to God. But you can, try calling out to God in the way you understand in life and see what happens. And I think you'll get a very good result. So anyhow, thank you guys so much. Hare Krishna. I hope, I hope you guys can all benefit from what we offer here. Sorry we went a little long today. We started 15 minutes late, and most of you showed up at least 15 minutes late. So I won't feel so bad. We're on Indian time, going a little extra 15 minutes over. So Mukunda, please shut the deities, blow the conch, and then we'll sing. So thank you guys who joined online as well.